And today's conversation is on mental wellness, and specifically we're looking at mental wellness in our modern households. How are we going about that? How is that happening, and how do we get to ensure that our homes are our safest places when it comes to mental wellness? And what better way to do it other than to have the guests that I have in studio with me. I will begin with my immediate right. We have Elizabeth Kenywa. Elizabeth is a family life advocate, and she is an author. She is also a speaker and the founder of the Naomi Talk Global. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Vivian.
All right, and right next to Elizabeth, we have Ambassador Dr. Joshua Ogwara, and he is a peace architect and the founder and CEO, Premier Dispute Resolution Institute of Africa. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And then right next to him, we have Doreen B. Atunga. Doreen is a seasoned guidance and counseling psychology expert. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here for us to talk about this conversation, you know. And when we talk about a mentally healthy household, let's just begin there by painting the picture. How does that look like? When do we say that this home is mentally healthy? Let me begin with you.
Thank you so much, Vivian. Probably before we address how that looks like, the question is, are we having big houses and not homes? Because those two are different. We are in a generation that is very privileged to have put up very exorbitant, exquisite kind of structures in homes, all rooms and suites, and they are well furnished, but people have minimal interactions. So they end up being just houses, very good houses, and not homes. And so I like the conversation because now we are moving from just the house to the home.
Yes.
So what happens at home is where there is love, is where you feel you're loved and you're appreciated the way you are and the person that you really are. Nobody is trying to conform you to be another person or to take up another image or look like somebody else. So you don't feel condemned, you feel appreciated, you feel loved, and you feel accepted. And that's why we say east or west, home is best. And so our assignment is to work very hard to work towards making this space very safe, to maintain it as safe. Yes.
So when we talk about a healthy or a mentally healthy household, it's a place where it feels safe.
Safe, you're loved, you're heard, appreciated, accepted.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Your point of view?
Thank you. Thank you once again for allowing us to be part of this panel this morning, Vivian. Mine is just to say that a healthy home is a home whereby you'll find that all the members in the family are appreciated the way she said. And also, apart from the list that she's provided, I believe very strongly that a healthy home can only be healthy when we appreciate the aspect of the space that we give to our spirituality, because our Creator, God, is the originator of family structure, and He gives us very precisely the ethics that we're supposed to embrace in our homes. There is a clear protocol that God has provided on how, for instance, the man of the house or the wife in the house should relate. And as they raise up their kids, there is a way in which they should raise up those children. These are some of the protocols which are supposed to act as ingredients that is supposed to bring up a healthy home, which can contribute now to having good mental health.
Okay.
So ignoring the spiritual aspect of it is a disaster. Yeah.
Doreen, why is it important for us to have this conversation, specifically in our families?
Thank you. It's very important to have this conversation because as life changes, everything is changing. Look at our families. When we talk about the mental, we are supposed, healthy home, we are supposed to be stable both socially and psychologically. But let's look at our homes. Are our homes, are we psychologically stable? do we have time to talk, time to sit down as a family, to talk to our children? Do the parents talk to one another? So it's very important so that we can be aware that a healthy home, we are supposed to have time to talk to one another so that we can be psychologically stable, we can have time to socialize. In case we have issues, we can be able to deal with these issues, but we cannot deal with the issues if we don't talk them out to one another. Yeah.
I hear you on that. Now, there's something you had mentioned when you began. You know, there's a difference between a house and a home. You know, and you mentioned that you know, there's that privilege where you are able to live in a house that is big enough, everyone has their own room, it's actually en suite, so you don't even have to come out to go to the washroom. You can just be in your room the whole day and you're still there. So just, I look at this as one of the stressors we have in the modern homes. So maybe if you can just touch on some common stressors that that is rather affecting our modern families today.
So thank you for appreciating that we have more of houses than homes. And in those homes, we are now graduating them to accommodation centers from how you're describing it. Because when you don't interact, or the way she's described it, people communicating, people having a family time and talking. So you're basically moving to the level of an accommodation center, where you come in, you sleep, you go to the kitchen, which becomes a common area, serve your food, then go to your room. So you can have an entire weekend where people rarely meet face to face, yet they're supposed to be in the same home. So that thing of you being able to pick what the challenge is with the other person is minimized, is brought at the minimal level. And then what happens is that's when you realize people start saying, we didn't know this was happening, we didn't know she was going through this, because there's very minimal interaction. Now, with our children, that even makes it worse, because their problem-solving skills is brought almost to zero. Now, a child comes from school, is in their own space, so they move from the dining to their space, they do their homework and all that stuff. Previously, children would share space, a room, and so they would have right there start practicing their problem-solving skills. How? They would have conflicts there. This is mine, no, this is my space, no, move your bed, make your bed, and all that stuff. So right from that age, we started having problem-solving skills built. But right now, that one is being removed from the equation. So you have nothing that is really bringing a challenge to you. By building those big spaces, we are really reducing those places and opportunities of learning small things like problem-solving skills. Then again, you're talking of stressors. Our economy is stressing us. People are running left, right, and center, trying to close the gap because, of course, the economy is really skyrocketing. The prices are up the roof. Now we are having a modern home where both the wife and the husband are both of them chasing the bacon. And now they are looking towards not just chasing the bacon, but building bakeries at the expense of everything else, where the nurturing role now takes a back seat and the provision takes the front seat. Then what happens? You have children who have nowhere to express their feelings. The nurturing role is substituted by the gadgets and the caretakers at home. And right there, it becomes an accommodation center and no longer a functional home. Yes.
And you know, Dr. Joshua, I would want you to weigh in on this. I mean, there's where do we draw the line between, as a parent, you know, father or mother or father and mother, you really need to bring home the bacon, right? You really need to ensure that the family is catered for financially. So where do we draw the line between I am busy with work, ensuring that you all are comfortable in the house, and I have time at home? Where do we draw that line? Because for some parents, maybe it's impossible for them to be at home.
Thank you, Viv. I think this is the best way I can respond to that. And allow me to wade into one of the famous statements that has been put across by John Maxwell. He says, everything rises and falls on leadership. In life, everything rises and falls on leadership. What do I mean by saying that? Is that for a home to really be a home or homely, the people who are forming part and parcel of this home must embrace certain value system. And this value system has to be injected or be brought by the leader, the head of the family, who is the father. And it is by these value systems that the father in the home, the mother in the home, the children who are in the home will know their parameters and their line which they're supposed to toe. They will know what is expected of them, how they're supposed to respond to certain issues when they do arise. And as a result of that, that will minimize any form of conflict because failure to have consistent and good family values, that is what leads now to scrambled kind of responsibilities and roles which cuts across to an extent where we always say that when you find yourself in a space where a certain duty is for all of us, then it is for none of us. And when it is for none of us, then that means that a vacuum is going to be created. Yeah? And failure to establish the family values, that is what will contribute to failure in the system because there is no guideline, there is no clear path that even the children who are being brought up can understand that this is what is expected of us and this is what you're supposed to deliver. And then finally that ends up creating what we call also false expectations. Because have you ever asked yourself why when the two, when I talk of the two, is the husband or the husband and the wife, when they came together during the early stage of their marriage, they used to call each other some sweet and good names. My sweetheart and my everything. But with time, you find that those good statements get worn out. And you wonder, how did they drop the ball? It is because lack of clear family value system in place. And no wonder you'll find that now the children are being brought up. When they find that there is no value system, they'll look for some values for themselves. And in the social media, today with the flow of information, they'll go gathering from all over. And there they will get for themselves some teachers who are crooked, those who do not embrace the positive value system. So I think that is one of the areas where we have dropped the ball and we just need to recollect it from that point.
On values. We have dropped the ball when it comes to instilling values in our children. All right. And I think I'll get back to you on that to elaborate further. But maybe just, Doreen, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges? You know, as a guidance and counseling psychologist, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that our children and teenagers are facing now?
Thank you. Our children and teenagers, the greatest challenge they are facing is stress. Why I talk about they are facing stress? These teenagers, they are growing. They are on a transition, stage by stage. And if you look at our houses, parents, we are very busy. And also to add, nowadays we have house managers in the house. We have decided just to leave our children to their house managers. So parents don't have time to talk to the children. And also parents think like the only thing they can do to the children is to provide. I've paid school fees, I've bought food. So once I go back to my house, I just ask, have you taken supper? Yes. Have you done your homework? Yes. I then hand them over to house manager. Check the children to sleep, and that's all. So these teenagers, remember they are growing. They need to be guided. They need to be talked to. They are not being talked to. In school, they have pressure for education. Also, they have pressure to grow up, to have something good in life. The academic challenges in school, who is talking to them? So you find these teenagers, our children, they are having stress. And also the children, the small children who are growing, Remember, our children, they learn from what they see. Behavior, they learn from what they see. So if the way they see our houses, we are busy, they are now growing that behavior. You could find them, once they are in the house, they take their phone, they are on phone. And that now becomes a behavior. They grow up with that habit. So children, the greatest challenges they are going through is stress. And this stress is putting them to depression. And when they go to school, you would find them taking actions on their own because no one is guiding them.
No one is even listening to them.
Yes.
And I don't know if there's a correlation, you know, with the unrest we've been witnessing in our schools. I mean, it has been out of hand, if I may say so. Does it have a correlation with what we're talking about today? Is it all a matter of mental wellness? Is it all a matter of children who maybe are not being listened to, or they don't have a place to share their emotions?
Yes, it's a yes and no. Yes and no. And I'll start with a yes from what she picked. Is we are busy, Vivian, and we've just actually, we've made being busy to be the norm. That if you're not busy, you're not okay.
You should be up and about always.
Yeah, you should always be up and down. And actually, the word is, I have crazy schedules. And you look very important when you tell us you have crazy schedules. But crazy schedules at the expense of what? Now, we are living children at home who, as she says, are growing, who need guidance. Who is guiding them? Now, we are buying them very sophisticated gadgets. And so the gadgets are giving them information overload. Okay? So even when they get to bed and they need to rest, are they really resting, or they are taking time to process the much information they have gotten from everywhere? Is there someone to guide? That's why I said the nurturing role has really taken a backseat, and it's been given to a caregiver, sometimes the house girl, a caregiver. Who do you really think is going to instill the values you want seen instilled?
And that's not their responsibility.
That is not their responsibility. Their core responsibility is to earn a salary fast at the end of the month and keep your house clean. Other things follow.
That's true.
Other things, the first response, and their salary. Whether you call it a responsibility or at the back of their mind, they need to put something in their hands. And so you find a child who is well informed but lacking in wisdom, because that information they have is not guided on how it's supposed to be utilized. Now, we're also having a parent who is also operating at a point of ignorance. And they are blaming this technology, they are blaming this space. And my question is, do we make the attempt to try and get into their world to understand just a little bit of what their world looks like? No, because as we are busy, we come home with our social battery is very low. So we are conserving energy. As she says, have you done your homework? So we become like military officers. Go, move, come, go, we are done. 10 minutes. And that is what is totally destroying. Now, these children have parented themselves. They can do what they know, they want. There are no rules. There are no regulations. They set the rules. And that's why they're going to school and saying, we want our hair done this way. We want now to start wearing trousers. And even the teachers are succumbing to the pressure. They are saying, yes, madam, to a 15-year-old. Who is now setting the rules. Now we are facing danger. Unless we address that, sooner or later, these roles are now reversed. We need to wake up.
And how do we address that? How do we ensure that the roles do not reverse as they are?
We sit down, do an opportunity cost as a parent, where one thing has to take a back seat. If we want to pursue a career, for example, Vivian, you have a 6-month-old baby, you want to go back to school to do your master's. Error. I know that's not popular, that is not common, and I have no apology for that, because I believe life is lived in seasons. When our children are younger, we ought to be so much present. And I call it a double present. Present physically there, and present to the point that you can be able to see even their facial expression when it's changing. Because you can be present but busy. And especially now that work has come to the house with the laptops, they're constantly calling you, check on that email, do this, and then you're on WhatsApp, you also want to see what is happening. So that's why I'm calling it a double present. Be available, but equally be sensitive in noticing even the small changes in the tone, how they're expressing themselves. And you can say, this girl is not okay, this boy is not okay. So we have to be double present,
Yeah.
for us to be able to start addressing this. Number two, the last time I was here, I said there are 3 things we need to realize. Once you become a parent, you need to know what to defer, what to delegate, and what to delete. Definitely when you enter the new season of parenting, there are things you will have to delete. Education, going back to school, you can always defer and pick it up later when your child joins school also.
Yeah.
There are things you can delegate so that you're not also overwhelmed and not available for your child. So a mother coming home doesn't have to really go to the kitchen and cook. She can delegate that so that she has more time to sit with the child at home. So that's basically what I'm saying. We can sort it out. We can, but there has to be an opportunity cost. Do we want to continue running or can we slow down and say there are things I can pick up later? But let me first of all streamline this, instill the values, and then continue with the chase.
All right. I want us to get back to the conversation on values because, you know, she's also touched on it. So when it comes to values and instilling values, you mentioned that that is where we are going wrong. So where exactly did we drop the ball from your point of view? When did we drop that ball of we do not set values or we do not instill values in our children? And maybe someone may ask, when do you start instilling these values?
Thank you. That's a great question. I think the best way I can respond to that is this way. Where we drop the values, or where did we drop the ball?
Yeah.
From so many points, if I may use that. The first place which I can mention very clear is we have come to be more of a copy and paste society. Anything that comes from the West, it's like it is from heaven. As long as it's being done, practiced in the US or in the Europe world, whichever, we copy and paste. And I can take us back to the 1995 famous Beijing, the 4th United Nations Women Convention. I think you can remember the story about Beijing, where the source, where women started getting their rights.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm not against it, but this was as a result of some of the mindset of globalists, of which they came in with the narratives of equality, of which I'm not against equality, but the lens by which you look at it matters a lot. So what do I mean by saying this? The empowerment of women is good, but it can only remain good when these women who are being empowered also remain spiritual, in the sense that they will understand how to tamper this empowerment with the perspective of the Maker, who already has provided their role very clearly in the Word. So, embracing the Western culture has created a lot of culture shock in our system. A lot of culture shock. And that is part of what is even led to many kind of conflict in our families. Not only in our families, but even also now in our learning institutions. We have a lot of unrest because of the culture shock. What are this kind of culture shock? You'll find at home, when we are bringing up our children, we have provided sufficient space for them to express themselves. And they grow up, and we appreciate them. We look at them and we see great leaders in them. But when they join the boarding, and I'm specific about boarding high schools, they find a totally different environment where that kind of space to express themselves is taken away from them immediately. And as a result of that, they react. How can they react best? Maybe just to ban schools, or to boycott class, or to go mute in certain areas. And then immediately the administration starts misinterpreting these are indisciplined children. They are not ready to follow the school rules and all that. And I ask myself, Do parents have the bandwidth even to interrogate the school rules and regulations? Are the school administrators open enough to allow parents to interrogate and evaluate the school rules? Those questions need to be answered. We know we can't have enough, even if we had enough police to deploy in every single school, it will not deter that kind of challenge that we are having in our schools today, that conflict that is prevailing today. But here, when we came now and we promulgated, for instance, the new Constitution 2010, it outlawed the corporal punishment. And I'm not celebrating that when we used to have corporal punishment, everything was okay. No. I know I'm part of those who are caned. And the caning did some good work, but it was not the best also. Then we ask ourselves, what is the best system? The best system is create an environment which will allow every single person in the family to find space to express themselves. In your family, Vivian, if you have one, do you have a mediation corner where your child can summon you to that corner and tell you, Mom, I have an issue with you, I want us to address. Dad, I have an issue with you, I want us to address. When you walk in that mediation corner, you remove the heart of, don't you know I'm the father who provides everything? Don't you know I'm your mom and all everything? No, you remove that and you sit and you just stoop down to be at the same level with a child. Then listen to him, listen to her. Give a quality, attention. We don't have those spaces in our homes. We don't have those spaces in our schools. This is what is creating what we call culture shock.
But let me ask you,
yes,
were these spaces there back in the day?
Very much.
Were they?
Yeah, because now we are living in urban, we are disconnected with our local, our roots. Many years back, we used to have what we call the round sitting, when the youngsters, the young men would sit with the elderly around the fireplace, and the elderly would, narrate to them the historical background, how our society began, where we came from, how we are here, the way we are today, and they would have opportunity to ask questions. That is how a boy child was being brought up to become a man. That is how the girl child was being brought up to be made ready to become a wife. But we don't have those spaces today. What do we have today? Gadgets. What is gadget giving us? The Western culture. And when we bring all those cultures, they get scrambled. And now we treat our African culture with some kind of negative mindset. Everything African is deemed like that is primitive. I'm shocked today, Vivian. You can imagine, many years back when the white came, it was said everything African is negative and is primitive. And we embraced the sugar, we embraced, the kind of refined food, we embraced everything. But today, again, we are told those are the things that are causing, cancer? So we are going back to our local foods. The millet and the local vegetables and everything. What are we? And we are told those are the ones that they have curative nature in them. We need just to reorient ourselves and embrace the positive cultures that we used to have, and that is what made us to be a people who can stand out, and people who can raise a family which is stable and which is resilient to any changes, because changes did not begin today. Even during those many years, we used to have changes in life, but we were stable because there were certain value systems that were in place.
Right. Doreen, more or less on the same, how are we able to just create these safe spaces that we are talking about? A safe space where a child can be able to just pour out their feelings, to their parents. And where do we draw the line between this is a child just expressing themselves and this is a child who's being disrespectful? Because there's a thin line between that.
Thank you. How to create this safe space? It starts with us, like parents, to create time. Yes, we are very busy, But if we decide to create time, we can have time. Because we do get time for WhatsApp and Facebook, but we don't get time for our children.
True.
So if we create time, even the time we take our food, most of us, because they are house managers, have you taken food? Ensure children have taken food. But like parents, do we sit down with our children, like, come together, let's now eat, how was school, and then you talk. When you are sitting together and eating together, you are trying to feed, to come down to them, so that they can be free with you. Another thing, we need to make friendship. We need to be friends with these children. Remember, they are growing from children to teenagers to young adults.
Yeah.
If we don't fit in their shoes, they would never tell us what they are going through. We would have a challenge of cases. We would have a challenge of they have found a problem because they are unable to share with us. So we need to come down to their level so that we can be able to interact with them. How to create another way of creating a safe space? Ensure even after church, that 1 minute, that 30 minutes, no one works for 24 hours, to be honest. Even for 30 minutes, for 20 minutes, have a pray together with these children. They will say, oh, if dad can do this, see, I can tell her who is bothering me in school. So creating this safe space, it's easy. It starts with us. If we decide to creating time, we will be able to create this safe space. And so that we don't become, we don't discipline them, but we listen to them. Most of us, because we are busy, we rush to disciplining them in case of listening to them first. So we need to be good listeners to them, to hear what they are going through. They also experiencing peer pressure. Who is handling the peer pressure, what they are going through, if we don't listen to them? So who is a judge who is not listening? Most of the time we rush to say that this child is not listening, but there are those who have some disorders. And commonly we refer to, this child is like that. In the village you find them saying, huyu mtoto hakoifo hasikiangi. So there is no child who is not hearing. Instead, he had a disorder that was not handled. So if we are near to these children, if we make friendship with these children, we will not have children who are not hearing, who are indisciplined. They will all be disciplined. And where does this start? We don't wait for 15 years, and I'm just waiting for my girl to be a teenager so that I can talk to her. It starts right away. Remember, children, they have stages of growing. From 0 to 3 years, they are growing, they are learning. This is where they start running. So we are supposed to start from talking to them as young as this young age. And at this young age, 0 to 3 years, below 12 years, this is where we can learn if these children, they have a disorder, if it's a running disorder, if it's a socializing disorder, so that they can be handled. But if we don't, we will continue using that word that they are indisciplined. Yeah.
All right, and you know, what's coming out of that mainly is on communication. Communication and time as well. How much time are you giving to being present in your homes? And when you're present, are you intentionally present? Are you communicating with the people in that home, with the children in that home, the parents themselves? Are they also doing check-ins on their emotions? And you know, there's also, I want us to talk on routine as we almost finalize on this. There's something about routine that you get used to it. If I may just refer to the games that are happening, World Cup, there's something about the Japan team that always stands out, even their fans. Immediately after the game, the fans kind of clean up the place as they leave. They always do that, you know, and this is something that is always talked about whenever there's such happening. And I believe it's from routine. It's something they were used to since they were small. They know you clean up after, you clean up after. And it's been instilled and it's in them. And we see it even in these world stages when it's happening. So what is it about routine, and how can we ensure that we are on the right routines?
Well, everything begins at home. And are we there to instill those routines? I've also watched those clips on Japan and how they do it, going even to their school system and how this happens. But when you step back a bit, you realize back at home, there's one parent who is constantly present back there. Okay? That's why when he said we are taking too much of what the West is and forgetting that we had our own. Because then one parent is constantly there to make sure that that routine sticks. Because then when there's no consistency and there's no one to ensure that that consistency sticks, then what is going to happen? People set their own rules. You move your goalpost depending on where you want to score. So if I want to score the shortest, I'll just move it closer. I don't get tired, no fatigue, nothing. But when there's an adult, and that's why it's important, even as we talk about relating with our children, it is not a peer kind of relationship. It is a relationship where I can bring it to like a mentor-mentee kind of, that I have information and I can, the authority to streamline you. Because at the peer level, no one can streamline the other. Rarely will you call the other one to order and tell them you have to keep quiet. But when now you come in at the mentor-mentee kind of relationship, you have the power, you have the upper hand, not really to muzzle it on your child, but to instill those values and the habits and the routines that you want to see happening. So who is checking those routines? Who is setting the rules at home? Who is ensuring that they are being followed? You get it? So we come again to the caregiver who we have obligated to this duty. And honestly speaking, look at our turnovers. Our turnovers of these caregivers is very high. So one comes with this kind of way of achieving the end goal of the routine. That one is messed up. Before the child is able to adapt to it, that one is totally distorted. Then a child is introduced to another one whose way of getting to the end game is equally totally different. Again, the child is confused. The parent here is only waiting for the end result, not the how, not the process. And so there in the process, you have all mixed, it becomes a web. A mixed web. So we need consistency in order for the routines to be executed and to stick. For example, when we were growing up, our generation, we knew getting curfews were there, right? Who instilled the curfews? It is not us, it is our parents, right? And they would make sure they strictly look into it. That by this time, if you're not home, then you're answerable. But right now, you just need to make a phone call and ask your daughter, are you home? She can lie to you. Because you're not connected, you're not present. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for this conversation, and this is where we get to end this. And I want to hand you over to State House Nairobi, where the presentation of the report of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights should be taking place right now.